Okay, so Be'ez Hashem, we're going to learn today something a little different. Now mamish connected with the parsha. To understand the idea, a mocker, a source for this, if it's something we should celebrate or not, talk about or not, the idea of a birthday. A birthday. Yeah. So, like this. There's one Gemara, there's a Gemara Moed Cotton, and the Gemara Moed Cotton says that the Gemara Moed Cotton says that Rabbi Yossi, then became Shat Neshana when he became 60 years old. He made a Yom Tov L'Rabbanan. He made a celebration for his friends because he was Nafke Mekoros Neshani. That the Gemara says over there about Karas, there's a certain curse, and exactly what age is it? So it's between 50 and 60. And he got to 60, he made a celebration that he cannot get Karas anymore. Karas is like a certain Torah thing that you die at a young age. So he made a celebration at 60. So the Gemara says Karas the Yom, but not Karas the Shana is still Karas. He said, but at least I got to 60. That's already a good sign. By the way, Karas doesn't apply anymore today. It doesn't work. You just know this. There's an Alter Rebbe writes. That's something else. That's Karas, even B'chayav. Talking about Karas, that mamish, a person passes away. The Alter Rebbe writes in Geras HaTshuva that it's no longer applicable today. That therefore, it's a concept because Ruchnius, people get chayes not from, used to be people used to get chayes only from Ruchnius, from spiritual things, holy things. So therefore, when a person loses connection with spirituality, with holy things, they die. So this is today, it's Slav Davka, this works this way, people get chayes from Klippa and other sources, so therefore, he says you see very terrible people that live very, very long lives. And you see very young people, God forbid, that die young. He says today it's not so relevant. But this is the idea. In the Yerushalmi, it actually says the Girsa over there, the question of Karas. The Yerushalmi has the Girsa that Karas, Nafke Mekaras, the Shani, is at 50 years old, not 60. That you passed a certain stage that you're not going to get Karas. What you said, God, is another word. That's another word. There's a God, some Sefer on this, that talks about that on Yom Kippur, it says that a person is v'nichras, a person will, so he says that what it means is that a person will feel disconnected. So a person that's experiencing going through Yom Kippur and doesn't feel that it's Yom Kippur, this means a person is not connected. That's the sign and the punishment at the same time. But 50 is an idea. 50 has to do with Keser, right? So the 49 spheres, and the 7 times 7. Then the highest level is Keser, which is like Matan Torah is 50. So we'll talk about the 50 idea. And what does it have to do with? So B'chlal in general, we'll go through some of the sources. The only person that has a Yom Haledet, the only person that has a birthday in the Torah that is actually marked is Parah. So this is one character that we know has a birthday. Later on, in the Mishnah, there's a Mishnah of Avodah Zarah. It's the first page. The Mishnah of Avodah Zarah talks in Tzlei Adem Shel Goyim Shel Shalom that 3 days before a celebration, you're not allowed to do work with someone, with an idol worshiper. And the Gemara brings down different types of celebrations, and one was the king's birthday. Yom Genis Shel Malachim, Yom Haledet, Yom Misa. That the king's birthday was a day that was celebrated. The king became another year, and it was celebrated. And this was considered like a day that 3 days before and 3 days after you shouldn't do mas and matan with an idol worshiper. You shouldn't do business. So in Chazal, like the Torah, the only person that has a birthday, that is Yom Haledet, has a birthday in the Torah is either Parah or some king, non-Jewish king, some idol pagan king. There's a Yerushalmi. So we'll get the next page of Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says like this. It talks about Amalek. So everyone knows the end of Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah says, like Shiur Moshe, the Yodesh Moshe is Mechabes, and the Yishalmi says like this. Shmuel Levi Amar, Amalek Kashvan Hoya, he was Baal Mechashev. And therefore, Mayo, he said, what did Amalek do? Hayamamid b'nei Adam b'yom genusa shaloi. He would choose soldiers. Amalek would choose soldiers of people that had a birthday that day. That's the Yom Genusa. You'll see in the Mefarshim in a second. Because a soldier will not be damaged, not be hurt on the day of his birthday. Has some type of protection on the day of his birthday. And also Moshe, what did Moshe do? He switched everything around, all the mazalas, and therefore it didn't have an effect. So if you look at the Pnei Moshe, he says, they knew when they were born, because a person also the Carbon Ada says that Yom Genusa is the day of his birthday. Okay, so he saw that there's a certain mazel that's shaylet on that day, so therefore he didn't. No, the Mishnah mentions over there about the Machamas Amalek. Yeah. That's the Gemara says. Oh, you mean how do you irvas amazalas? Yeah, through picking up his hand. Yeah, because Shiur Moshe. But the Gemara later says over there, Yerushalmi says over there that through picking up his hands. Yeah. He picked up his hands and he was able to do it. Okay. So this idea of mazel goiver, the idea of a mazel goiver, that there's some type of mazel. What's the mazel goiver? This is what it says. The mazel goiver, that a person's birthday, the mazel is goiver. What's the mazel? What is the mazel? What is a person's mazel? So mazel can mean a few different things. In the Gemara, the Gemara in Shabbos, when it talks about that a person is born under mazel madim, let's say a person is born on the planet of Mars, let's say a person is born on Wednesday, so this person has a lot of blood, he's a shoichet or a moil or a hoyrig, whatever, he has issues that he's connected to blood, and every single day the Gemara says different things. There's mazel machkim, there's a mazel that's masher, there's different mazalas, and mazalas is, from that Gemara, it seems mazalas is two things. Mazalas either represents the 7 planets, so every single day represents another planet. Like literally, also you do this in English: Sunday, Monday. Actually, it's Sunday. Monday is Moon Day. It's based on French, where every day is corresponding to another of the planets. Like Saturday, Shabbos is Saturn. Whatever. That's the way it's. Wednesday is Mercury. Whatever. That's the way it's set up. So the 7 planets. Whatever day you're born, that's the mazel. That's one mazel. But that the Gemara also says that there is mazel shoyes, which means that in the day itself, the mazalas, the planets, means you're born under the planet. Like when you're born, this planet, this sign is very prominent. I'm not getting into what this means, but let's say, yeah, it's a type of astrology for sure, that you're born, but it also has to do with that throughout the day itself, there's different planets that have a stronger effect, and the mazel of a person is connected to the day that they're born and the hour that they're born. That's according to Chazal. Those two things, hour and day. Chazal don't mention months, what month you're born. When most people think about mazalas, which is another topic, I don't want to get into it. When most people think about mazalas, the idea of like some type of influence of mazalas, they think about the zodiac, which is connected to the 12 formations. Like there's star formations that look like a certain particular image, like Aries, a Gemini, whatever, Tle, Shoy, Sartan, Toimim. This is like this different things that present itself a certain way, and when most people think about mazalas, they think about one of those things. It means not the day that you're born or the hour they're born, but under which influence of the zodiac. And that's really connected more with the months. That every month is connected to in Chazal itself, in the Gemara, there's no clear makar that Chazal talk about this topic, but it's mentioned in Sefer Yetzirah. Sefer Yetzirah says that the 12 mazalas correspond to the 12 months of the year, correspond to the 12 Shvatim, correspond to different things of 12, and therefore the 12 Chushim, and therefore that is connected as well. So there's what month you're born, what day you're born, and what hour you're born. Rashi in Rosh Hashanah, when it says that there was an Eruv by the Zman HaMabel, that it says that there was a log and there was a chain of Mazal. So Rashi also brings out and it brings out all the list of the 12. But in Chazal itself, in the Gemara, we don't have that. So Mazel seems to be some type of combination of a lot of different forces that happen when you're born. It seems that this is one interpretation of the way we can understand it. And what Mazel means, that when you're born, you're under a certain influence, and then the day of your birthday, this is what the Gemara says, that the Amalek was able to mechavan this, the day of your birthday, there's a strong gvura, there's a strong influence of these mazalas, of that same influence. Now, that's one way to think about it, but it's kind of complicated to think about it that way. Because if you think about it that way, what does the day of your birth have to do with, let's say you're born on a Tuesday at 6, what time, right? You're born at a certain time, and there's a certain planetary, astrological phenomenon that's going on in this world at that time. Your birthday could be in a completely different day of the week, right? And it's not particularly to that hour. And so, how does that work? How does it necessarily work? Besides the fact that the zodiac signs actually switch, and there's constantly, it's not exactly stationary. It's not always, Nisan is not always Tlet. It moves over time, a very small amount. But you can be born now in Iyar, and you can have Tlet. You can be born other, you can be in Tlet, whatever. It moves. So the Mazel, which I think what Chazal mean when they speak of Mazal Goiver, when there's an influence of the Mazel, it actually is the other Mazel, which actually we spoke about a little last week. The other Mazel is that just like we say that there's no small blade of grass, she'en la mazel, shemakal avim la gedel. That means that there's even every single blade of glass has an influence that forces it to grow. So the mazel means your prototype. It's like your guvdak, which we spoke about last week. The mazel is the state of how you should live, your perfection. That's your mazel. So, gadel, the mazel of a person sort of stands atop of them, and there's a mazel of a blade of grass as well. And the person's mazel's goiver means the mazel's always with you. And on a person's birthday, that's when the first manifestation from the guvgas, from the guvdak to the guvdak became revealed. In other words, from complete ethereal form to actual physical body, that's when the body became projected. So on a person's day of birthday, the mazel of that person, the mazel being this prototype of your perfect self, is goiver. You're following? So the mazel, I don't have a chra on this. I don't have there's no real makoros for this. It seems like, if you think about it, that the mazel doesn't actually mean the mazel of the planets and the mazel of the zodiac, because first of all, a lot of Rishonim don't believe in astrology, and that's a whole big machlokes. But even in that, we're talking about some type of, and what does that have to do with mazel goiver? Let's say you're a mazel madin. Let's say you're born on the madin. You're born on the Mercury or on Mars. Let's say, right? So, and now on your birthday, in the 78th birthday, mazel madin is stronger. So what? What does it help me? Why? What does it mean that it's better for me today? Like Amalek is saying, this is a perfect soldier. He's not going to die in battle. What does that have to do with dying in battle? But if you say the mazel is a person's prototype, which means the koyach ruchni, the spiritual power that gives the body the koyach, the strength to be, right? It's your body double is informing you. Then it's say, okay, so this day is goiver, means that you are more goiver. The you is more goiver. So the you is stronger. That's your mazel.
That sounds like it goes well with Moshe being lifting his hands, because it would be like his prototype is somehow shifting.
Correct. Yeah, correct. You can go there. Yes, you can do that. Okay. So the question is.
It doesn't answer if your birthday was on a Tuesday. You were born on a Tuesday. Your birthday's on a Thursday.
Sure, it does answer because it's not mazel in terms of madim and or tzedek or noiga or shaptai. It's not relevant to what mazel it was. It's not if you're born on, let's say, on Monday, which is connected to the Levana.
It's not an hour every day.
It doesn't matter. In other words, what happens when a person's born? The mazel of a person, which is the prototype of who you are, pushed you into existence, kaviyachol, right? That means that you were born today. You became alive. So if you became alive today, that aliveness is on the day of your birthday. There's that stronger aliveness. It's like your miniature Rosh Hashanah. Like just like Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the year, beginning of the collective year, the collective birthday of Klal Yisrael. So the day of your birthday is the day that your mazel was makalav oimel gadel, made you become you, to push you out of the womb. So that's there. Your mazel is now gover to live. You're following? It doesn't not relevant if it's Tuesday or Wednesday or what time it is. It's not relevant. The whole day. So obviously we're saying that there's a chazara of this idea, it's a return of this idea that every year on a person's birthday, that's the mazel has a stronger influence. Okay, that mazel, not the particular mazel that we talk about in terms of the zodiac or the planetary system. Correlation. Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously. But it's not that particular thing, right? There's a lot of combination of a lot of different things. The combination of your soul type, the combination of where your Shor comes from in Adam Kadmon. There's like 100 different things. Your genetics. There's like a whole picture. Yeah, of course. But
every year. So
every year.
Who makes the year?
Exactly. So exactly every year of this time period, when your neshama came down to this world, when you became manifest in body. Yeah, there's a period. Right. I'm saying, but that period can shift one day to Tuesday, one day to Wednesday, one day to Thursday. It doesn't matter. It's because it's not aligned with like the planetary system. There's something that was opened up on this day that opens up again the same day that you're born. Yeah, but day, but not or period. A period. Yeah, not day, not Tuesday or Wednesday. It doesn't matter. There's a period that opens up. It opens up that on that time period. It works. It works actually much better, because also with with a person's passing, with a person's patir, you say that you can go to a person's cave or 3 days before, 3 days after, whatever. What's the whole thing? Either you go the day that a person died or not. What do you say? Because we're not talking. You're not limiting yourself to that. Zoning into that particular thing. It's like there's a certain quality that came into the world in this time. This quality becomes more pronounced during this time of the year. Huh?
That's the Minkash.
We're going to look at the Munkacher right now. Yeah, but we're going to look right now at the Munkacher. Yeah, 3 days before it says a lot of Svarim. But, yeah, it says a lot of Svarim.
Is it in English? English?
No, hey, bro.
But Amalek's using Hebrew dates?
What's a Shiloh? Of course. Okay.
But where do you know the Mazal is the potential for something?
No, that's what it means. That's what it's called. That potential of the person, that prototype of the person, is called as mazel. Like there's a potential of the grass that says grass become grass, grass become grass. The power that's telling the grass to become grass is the prototype of what the grass should look like, and the grass has to manifest that potential. That's the angel. That's the little malach. That's the mazel. So there's a shtickle from the Munkacher, look over the Munkacher Chava, from the Divrei Torah. I don't know if you knew this, but you know the Divrei Torah. You know the Sefer. Wow. So there's so the Munkacher Tain is like this. He has a sefer called Divrei Torah. He has like 10 maduras. This is Madura 5. In Madura 5, he writes like this. He says, "Ma shamarti be'kil kadosh munkach bebeis haknesses ratzon si peches liyom led the Sar HaRepublic Hanoida." There was a birthday to some Sar, some big person, and he gave a speech, and he said, "What did he say?" He said, "We didn't find birthdays by Chazal. We didn't celebrate birthdays. But however, lasses came yom smachas b'yom lassim. But we find shekol olam. I'm sorry. Hina yom ledas eitz b'nei zol l'shamanu vatam nira mirev onesenu. This is because we're humble. The reason why we don't celebrate our birthdays, this is the Munkacher writes. The reason why we don't celebrate birthdays, because of humility. Because Amar Chazal, toiv lo shalei nivra mishenivra. The Chazal say it's better not to be born than to be born. I want to tell you that this is a misquote, and you'll see that's very negay. It's very, very important. He does this intentionally, and you'll see why. He doesn't say in Chazal. It doesn't say toiv lo shalei nivra. It says noich l'adam shalei nivra. Noach and toiv is a very big different word. Noach means it's easier. Toiv means it's good. He says toiv l'shalei. It's not good for man to be created. Because the Gemara says Nimim v'Gomer, there was an argument whether Bisham Yisrael is better to be created or not better to be or not to be. And then they said, L'poil, that he says that it's noyach l'olam shaloi nivra achar shenivra yifashish b'maisav. It's better not to be created, or it's easier for not to be created. Now that you're created, you should do tshuva. So he says, therefore, l'simcha mazo oisa. So therefore, why should a person do? Why should a person be happy? So he says it's because there's so many mitzvahs that you have to do. There's our mach mitzvah. There's so many things that you have to do positive. So you're born. So mazel tov, you're born. Who cares? If you did something in your life, then you can celebrate. But if you didn't do something in your life, why are you celebrating? In fact, maybe you'll never do anything. I don't know, say that, but that's what he's basically saying. Then it's a problem. You have to do so many mitzvahs. There's a lot to do. You're gonna finish kol hatera kula. I mean, it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah semeratay. You have to know kol hatera kula. You gonna do it? I don't know. Hopefully, you will. Mitzvahs. It's much less mitzvahs, so of course they can say, Republic. So he says, for them, it's very simple. They can have a birthday because they don't have so much responsibilities. Life is much easier, so it's not totally shalom. Therefore, it can work. This is the Munka Chatar that he said, and in honor of the local prince that was that had a birthday that day. Okay. If you look now in the next source, in the Yalkut Shimoini, which, if you know, the Yalkut Shimoini is not mamash a medrash, it's a medieval medrash. It's a medrash that was collected by a person, Rav Shimon. He collected these medrashim. So there's a lot of old medrashim that we don't have. But the Yalkut brings down, in Yalkut Shimoini Chabad, he brings down that the same thing, it's in the left column. The bottom. The same, literally, he quotes the Yerushalmi. Now, the reason why the Makir is a very interesting source is because there is a Zayis Ra'anon. Who's a Zayis Ra'anon? It's a commentary in the Yalkut Shimoini. It's little La'aras that were written by the Magen Avraham, no less than the Magen Avraham, Rav Avram Gumgar, one of the big poskim. He wrote a little commentary on the Yalkut Shimoini, little notes, and he has a little La'ara here. So the Munka Chatainas, let's go back to the Munka Chatainas, which is a taina that a lot of people argue. That says, a mazel Yisrael, there's no mazel Yisrael, so what do you say mazel Agev? The person's mazel is stronger. A mazel Yisrael, there's no mazel. Kal Yisrael doesn't have a mazel. Why the Kal Yisrael doesn't have mazel is only one opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, but that's what they say, a mazel Yisrael, there's no mazel. Comes along the Magen Avraham. He writes like this. Look in the bottom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashlim shesem shel tzadikim. By Moshe Rabbeinu it says that they die in the same day they were born, which seems what's Amalek doing? Amalek says, I'm going to put people to battle so they're not going to die. Why they're not going to die? Because mazal legover, they have strong mazel today. They're meant to live. But Chazal say the opposite also. Now the question that he's asking is only a question if you say that also applies to tzaddikim, right? If you say that it only applies to Umas Olam, which the Mukach says Mazal Legav is only then it only applies. But if you say that it's negay to us, and that's the conversation. So even tzaddikim pass away on the day of their birthday. So is passing away on the day of the birthday shows the opposite of Mazal Legav. They don't have good mazel. So you can see from the question, you already see that the way the Magen Avraham is learning is that it's applicable to everybody.
If it's better not to be born, and he dies when he was born,
Yeah.
forget.
So it's a good thing. So that's what that's something what he's to say. Look what he says. Okay, that it was like it's a toiva. It's some type of goodness that happens in their life. That's the answer. The answer is it's a goodness that happens in life that they pass on, and this is like a positive thing, which means that the mazal goiver, that when we say that the mazel is stronger on that day and the tzaddik passes away on that day, that's actually part of the mazel goiver. The mazel goiver, the tzaddik is that Kadosh Baruch Hu is the same tzaddik, and Hashem completes a person's years. It's interesting in this next source. I know people bring this from Chaim Kanevsky. That so they asked him what does he say about a birthday, and like I don't know if you know, he used to answer like this very very quickly. He said birthdays are for Pare. Pare had birthdays. What are you celebrating a birthday? This is what he said. But in Talmud Kra, which is a sefer, I don't know what he said. I'm telling you what he wrote. He brings down this on Parshas Vayelach. It says, "B'meiv esem shana anochi hayoyim, lam shekal debaruch ma'alash shem tzaddik miyom loim." Comes to tell us that Hashem fills a person's life that a person dies on the day of his birthday. He says this will be explained according to the Yerushalmi. According to the Yerushalmi, that's that Amalek chose on the day of their birthday soldiers that to go to battle because the day of the birthday, Bari Vitakiv Mazle, a person has strong mazel, which means they're not going to die. Therefore, they're not going to pass on. This says this is by most people. This is by most people that death is actually considered a punishment. Death can be like a transition. They're going from one state to another state. That's actually a positive thing. They pass out that day because that shows that they're transitioning into a higher state. So he clearly learns that there is mazel for tzaddikim on the day that the birthday, right? The mazal gover, and he's answering the question, but he's saying mazal gover on tzaddikim. And the same thing also, another nice mocker for this. There's two other little makars for this. One is from the Chomis in Echa. For some reason, I couldn't find it in my house. I don't know where someone took it or put it. That he brings down that there is mazel, even though we say mazel Yisrael, b'yom Elosei, on a person's birthday there is mazel. But the other one is Kunte Div Chaloimis Rab Tzaddik, and Rab Tzaddik wrote a little sefer that's dreams. Very unusual sefer, a wonderful sefer. Very few. There were some tzaddikim that actually wrote their dreams. The Degel Lachon Ephraim, the end of the sefer, also wrote some of his dreams. They wrote little dreams that they had. Rab Tzaddik wrote his dreams, and he wrote down his dreams. His dreams are not like what most people dream about, but these are. Yeah, a lot of tzaddikim, but to write them down and to say the Torah that he said in his dream. This is a dream. Leil Motz Shabbos Kodesh Vayishlach. This is the tzaddik's dream. Okay. That every year that a person is born, on that day, there's a strong mazel of that person. The person has a strong mazel of that person. And what it says, he said at the same time. So he said why tzaddikim pass away when they die. You see this mamish, the same thing we talked last week. They go away from the suk, the guf gashmi, the physical body, the sak, and they enter into chaluk the rabbanon, which is the guf ruchni. Yeah. So he says that what happens is they go down to this world to do in this world physical action, Torah mitzvahs. That's the time that they're elevated their mazel. And then he says that he when he woke up from his dream, it made sense for him that this is only with regards to tzaddikim, but not the opposite. See, b'kitzi, when he woke up, Allah machshavte this idea, the same thing, that it also works. It's a positive thing. And the last source over here is from the Yar's Dvash. The shtickle from the Yar's Dvash is from Rabbi Yonason, Eibschutz, and he talks about this thing, and he brings on Meshem Yalkut, and he says Rabbeinu Bachai brings it on. Therefore, he took people on his birthday, and then the question is that why did they die? Why did tzaddikim pass away on the day of their birthday? And he says because that's that b'yom ha'oled he said ki mazal u'meracha toivel tzaddikim hashleim shemasam l'toivel ki nishleim is adi yikub yom mazal l'toivel ki tovahu chemal shneim kol tzaddikim b'yom ha'oled mekavon ha'mayram l'farsam toivin yonav v'shleim v'kishim asayim, that it's to show on the greatness of that what happened in their life. Okay. So this is regards to a dream that the person's mazel is stronger. Another marker over here is from the Ben Ish Chai. Just go through some of them on Mekayim here. The Ben Ish Chai wrote a sefer called Ben Yoyada, which is on Gemara. And over here he brings on another lashon that's very. So there's a famous Gemara. The Gemara talks about the lesbian Azariah that his wife said that you can't. He's only 17, 18 years old, and then that day he came back the next day and his beard turned white. Okay. So the Gemara says that day he was 18 years old. Sorry, Kiben Shim Shana. He's not 70. He was Kiben Shim Shana. He was 18 years old. Nearly B'siyat Nishmai. It says that day. Why doesn't it say that time period? At that time period, when we were talking, the story he was talking about, he was 18 years old. It says, no, that day he was 18 years old. That day was actually his birthday. And that's the day that he became 18 years old. Therefore, this nes happened to him. The fact that his beard turned white is a miracle, and the reason why it happened a miracle. It's a day that is chazak, is strong and mutzlach, and therefore Therefore, a person should make a birthday party because it's a day that it's a miraculous day. Latzma, you should make for yourself. Make a birthday party. Yeah, Latzma. You don't make a birthday party in public. You should make Latzma a party for yourself, and you make a Yom Tov for yourself. Yom Tov Latzma. You should make a Yom Tov Latzma because it's Yom Shnas Lanes. The reason why miracles happen that day because miracles are supposed to happen. And in the bottom, in the Ben Ish Chai in Parshas Rei, it says Yesh Noigim L'Asas B'Chol Shana V'Shana is Yom Ledes Yom Tov V'Simen Yafahu V'Chein Noigim V'Seinu. This is our minig in our house. The Ben Ish Chai writes that in Iraq, this is what we used to do. We used to make a Yom Ledes and we used to do a party. Okay. Yes, we're going to talk about it. Okay. So this is what we see. I just want, if you just do a very quick, synopsis of this whole thing, is that it appears that while some of the early sources say, besides the Bunkecher, we're going to put the Bunkecher for a second on the side. But it seems like from the earlier sources is that there is no makar. There's taka no makar. There's a sefer called Nefesh David by the Adaris that he writes that in the beginning he writes that someone wants to make, he was a Rav and they want to make a birthday party. He was very upset. He says it doesn't sound want to make a birthday party. But later, by the end of the sefer, he says that he is older. He says maybe it's not such a bad thing to do. But there was a certain aversion to do anything on a person's birthday. Because it seems like Pare and Avodah Zarah, if they Avodah Zarah, it didn't seem like a thing. During the times that this is now, you see Rabbeinu Sneipshitz and Reb Tzaddik and even the Arvin Nachman Parsha Shmini. There's a lot of Makoros, Chassidish Makoros already talk about that a day of a birthday is like a day to be marked, and the Ben Ish Chai. So it's Ben Ish Chai just lived 150 years ago. So that's the same time period post the Baal Shem. From the times of the Baal Shem, there was already an idea of that Chai Elul was the birthday of the Baal Shem, that Chai Elul was celebrated as the birthday, but it was a private thing. It was not known, and there were tzaddikim that knew when their birthday was. A lot of people didn't actually know when their birthday was, just historically, you should know. Probably your parents or your grandparents didn't know what their birthday was. But it was like not a day. Today you have a passport or something, that's a birth certificate, but they didn't have that. People didn't know when their birthday was. But the people that knew actually celebrated. And it was like a certain Messiah, a quiet Messiah. You celebrate your birthday, but you do it for your Latzma, you make it a special day. The Lubavitch Rebbe, the Rebbe published a little sefer in Tafshin Gimel, and it's called Yom Yom. And on the day of his birthday, he doesn't know when it was his birthday, but he wrote this little thing from the Rayatz. That by Yom Ledes al Adam li is boided, a person should be misboided, a person should go with himself, to be introverted with himself. A person should sit and do a cheshbon and nefesh, basically. On the day of your birthday, it's a serious time. It's like a little Yom Kippur for yourself. Think about your life. Think where you're heading, what you're doing, what needs correction in your life. Where's your life unfolding towards? So it became more popular. And then, if you know a little bit of the Chabad, a little history, the Rebbe became, in the later years, was very pushed everyone to make birthday parties and make it public. So we have to understand what this sugi is, how this works. How did it work from a day that is not celebrated at all, and maybe something that's even pagan, maybe something that's not, to something that becomes, by certain people, celebrated, at least lots may. How did this work? So let's go back to the Gemara. We just already quoted the Gemara, but the Gemara is Tana Barim. Shtei Shonim Mechza Nechel B'Sham V'Silul. The Samar and Erev Yigimel. B'Sham and V'Silul were both arguing. Oim Noichel Adam Shenivra, Yesem Shenivra. Lolim Noichel Adam Shenivra, Yesem Shaloi Nivra. Nimnu V'Gama. They came to the conclusion Noichel Adam Shaloi Nivra, Yesem Shenivra. V'Achash Shenivra Yifashem V'Maisa, M'Shamas V'Maisa. That a person should perfect their action. That's the ikar what a person should do. This is what Chazal tell us. Okay. comes along the Alter Rebbe. Now the Gemara says, Noach Ladam Shaloi Nivra, B'Shenivra. It's easier for a person, Noach Ladam, for not to be created. Now that he's created, Yifashu Maisav, Yishamash Maisav. That's what the Gemara says. So the Alter Rebbe says, there's a Pirush of the Alter Rebbe. It's a Chassidish Pirush. It's very quick and very fast. It's just one line. In Likud Torah Parshas Rei, it's on the top. For some reason, my should be on the top. Do you see it? Oh, it's one line. V'zeh shenim v'gama. It's like 10 lines from the top, the right column. V'zeh shenim v'gama shenoich l'adam shaloi nivra. This is what it says in Noach Shaladam Shaloi Nivra. It's better for a person not to be created. V'lo yomru chas v'shalom toiv lo shaloi nivra. It didn't say it's better. God forbid. The Gemara didn't say it's better for man not to be created. It says it's easier for man to be not created. But of course, you can't say that it's better for man not to be created. The reason why Neshama comes down to this world is a tremendous advantage when Neshama comes down to this world and elevates this world and elevates himself. There's a tremendous aliyah. You need the tzarech aliyah, descent for the purpose of ascent. How could you say that it's toiv lo shaloi nivra? No, it's toiv shenivra. It's much better than a fact that a person gave. It's just mayach.
Who's he responding to?
No, he's not responding. He's just saying. You should just know. This is the way. Al pi chassidus, this is what you have to understand. It's not that we're saying that it's toiv. No, toiv is really the toiv ma'od is the Yetzer Hara. Toiv ma'od is malachim avos. It's really good, this world. What's not? It's really good. This is the place of challenge. This is the place where we can overcome things. This is the place where we can really become something. This is the place we can connect to the atzmos of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is the highest place in the place to be. It's just harder. It's more difficult. It's easier for neshama to be in Olam Haba. This thing is a chiddush chassidus in the Torah Chassidus, which is that normally you think that the world is a proizdor. It's like it's a passageway, and the main thing is to get through the passageway and to get to the other side, and you just have to pass through as easy as you can. And it's really toiv lo shaloi nivra. Really, it's better if you didn't be created. And that's the way it's been translated. That really Olam Haza is the base place. This physical world is the base place, and you just have to skirt yourself to get to Olam Haba, to get to the next place. And al pi chassidus, it's not true. It's literally the opposite. That where does the atzmis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where's the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu really being expressed, is particularly in the Gashmistic world, in the physical world. It's not easy, but if you connect here, you connect at a much higher level. This was a Gilui in Torah Chassidus, and very interestingly enough, I found the same interpretation in the Sefer of Nishmas Chaim. Who's Nishmas Chaim? If you understand who Nishmas Chaim is, then you understand why he said the same word. Because Imam says the same word. You see, certainly good existence is better than non-existence. You say it's better to be. Of course it's better to be. It certainly would not be better for the neshama not to come into this world. Because certainly if it's easier, that's what I say. Okay, it's forced because it's difficult, it's complicated. But toiv, it's easier to be this way, a neshama without a body. But what's toiv? Where's the real toiv? Toiv is dafka in Olam Haza. Nishmas Chaim is Menashe ben Yisrael. So Menashe ben Yisrael, just very quickly, Menashe ben Yisrael is a unfortunate person that people don't know about it, which don't know most people knows most Yidden never heard of Menashe ben Yisrael. But in his time, he was probably one of the most important Jews alive. Besides the fact that he was a big Talmud Chacham and he did a lot, but the reason why Jews are in America is because of Menashe ben Yisrael. The reason why Jews are in England is because of Menashe ben Yisrael. The reason why Jews live in the West is because of Menashe ben Yisrael. Menashe ben Yisrael was a very brilliant intellectual character, and he's an Amsterdam Jew. He's a ben of Anusim. He's children of Portuguese Anusim, and he basically convinced Oliver Cromwell to let the Jews back into England. The Jews were kicked out of England at 1290, and he basically told the Jews that the Jews should start dispersing to the free countries, the free world. And the first Jews that come to the north part of America, like the Chatzikana Atachten, like the lower part of the earth, of the globe, which means in the free world was actually Jews moved from Amsterdam to Recife in Brazil. Menachem Yisrael actually went with them, became the Rav there for a few times, and Maria Buov was there. There was different Rabbanim there, and then eventually, the Portuguese eventually got to Brazil, unfortunately, and they had to leave Brazil. But when they left Recife, then they moved to the islands, the Caribbean, and eventually from the Caribbean they came to Americas. And that's how Jews moved into America, because of Menachem Yisrael. And he saved Yiddishkeit on what? In the 1500s. Yeah, 1500s. Yeah, early 1600s, around that time. So he was a very big, and he was a Mekubal and a Choyker and this, but he was a very, we'll call him today, I don't know, for lack of a better word, he was a Messianic Jew, meaning, in a good sense of the word, not Chas Shalom in a bad, meaning he was a person that believed with a lot of Amunah and Mashiach, and he that's why he convinced Cromwell. He told Cromwell that if the Yidden are going to move to England, then the Mashiach can come, because it says when the Kapsim they're going to be spread out, Yidden are going to be spread out from all the corners of the world, and if they're not a Ksavos Olam, then their version of it is not going to work also. And Cromwell was a very religious person, so he said, okay, it makes sense. So he let the Jews move in there. But he was a, and he wrote Mikveh Yisrael about as Shvatim. He was a person that was kochen sich in a Geula paradigm, in a Mashiach paradigm.
Like some of the Native Americans, or like
Yeah, he believed that some of the Native Americans are some of the 12 tribes. No. He was the same time. No, Menachem Yisrael. No. There was that. The Chayim of Spinoza is a whole other story. Weird by Skaver. This Spinoza, the Chayim was. It can be what. It could be Spinoza was put in the Chayim because of the Christians. The Yidden had no choice. He was making too many problems. Not for Yidden. For Yidden, we were fine. Whatever. Believe whatever you want. Who cares? It was a bigger problem that we had with internal. Yeah, it was a problem. Anyways. Okay. So, this is Bekitza. This is what we have Bekitza of this idea that it is a good thing, not a good thing, and slowly it became a more popular thing, and it's celebrated. But we have to understand what the Oimik is. Let's try to understand a little bit more about Oimik, why it became revealed today, what does it have to do? So, Behektim, very quickly, a Torah of the Baal Shem, which we don't have, unfortunately, but Matos-Masei, Torah is a Baal Shem. But you all know this Torah. Everyone knows the Torah Baal Shem on Matos-Masei. Torah Baal Shem on Matos-Masei is that there is Elam Masa B'nai Yisrael, that is the Masa B'nai Yisrael, that this is the journey of Klal Yisrael, and the Torah speaks about 42 journeys. Huh? Membeis Masois. Huh? The Dagel brings it down. Yeah, the Dagel. That's the Makar. The Dagel. Everyone brings it down. This is a famous Torah of Baal Shem that it represents the 42 steps from a person's birth until he goes to Atz Chaim. This is the Lashon of Baal Shem. Until he gets to like the living land. Until he gets to the Olam Haba, to the peak. These are the Membeis Masois. These are the 42. These 42 steps in the journey, and they correspond to different states in a person's life, where you are. If you're Kiris Hataiva, whatever case you are, where you are actually on the line. These 42 is also connected to the Shem Membeis. There's a Shem Membeis. The Mishnah mentions in Kedushin, there's something that's called the 42 name of Hashem, which is a secret name of Hashem. This name is connected to, Tosis already brings it down, Chagiga also, that this name is connected to the first 42 letters of Bereshis. The Ramak in the Pardes has a whole cheshbon, how you do with Atpash, he gets the 42 names. It's connected to Ana B'Koyach. The Ana B'Koyach is 42 words. The 42 words, if you know Krasat, you know the Abad Yatzat, Krasat, if you tell them there's 42, there's 6 times 7, the 7 lines, 7 words, 6 lines, you get to 42, then Moshe Hashem Kavim Chusal, because it's the name of Hashem. Ana B'Koyach, the name of Ana B'Koyach is a name of transition. Whenever there's a transition from one world to the next, or in one state to the next, you say Ana B'Koyach. That's why also in Tefillah, whenever there's Ana B'Koyach, it represents, it's a movement, an inner movement between, let's say, between one world and the next. Let's say in Kabbalah Shabbos, you first say the six Zmiros of Kabbalah Shabbos, which correspond to 6 days of the week. Then you say Ana B'Koyach, and then you transition to L'Chadoidi, which means that now I'm going to Mizrah Shalem Shabbos, which is Kabbalah Shabbos. So whenever there's a transition from Chayil to Kodesh, whenever there's a transition, you say the Ana B'Koyach has to do this transition. Another example of this from the Ari is in Kaddish, when you say you say 7 times seven words that start with a vav. 7 times 6 is 42. So since Kaddish is a transition, we're saying transitioning a neshama that goes from one world to a higher world. That's what you're saying the Kaddish for. So you're scoring the shem membeis. That's the same idea. Same also with the Sefer Torah. Gada, with the Sefer Torah, there's the Gemara doesn't say how many lines has to be in a Sefer Torah. How many lines you have to have in a Sefer Torah. The Rambam in Hilchos Sefer Torah writes that it has to be, it's Kabbalah b'yadenu, that it has to be between 48 and 60, so the Kabbalah. But some Bam Kodesh, that the Rosh brings it down, the Torah brings it down, that there's a Masorah that it should also be 42 lines. That the Sefer Torah should actually have 42 lines corresponding to the same transition of this process. So this is one of the shemus, represents a transition from one state into the next state. So Elam Masos B'nai Yisrael is the mass of B'nai Yisrael on transition. Okay. Now what's the oimik of this? That there's let's just say very simple. There's a transition. There's like a movement, and then there's the tachlis. So there's the journey, and then there's the destination. Okay. Now, we say that Olam Haza, there's Olam Haza, this world, and then there's Olam Haba, which is the world to come. So one represents the Shisha Yom, let's say, represents the journey. The 6 days correspond to 6 days of the week, 6,000 years, right? Elif Shanav, every year, like the Ramban writes in the beginning of Bereshis. So there's a cycle, there's a process of journeying, and the seventh, the Shabbos, is the Tachlis. Tachlis Shemai Baris, that's the Tachlis. That's the destination. Now, normally, the way we think about this is that there's the journey and the destination are two separate things. You journey to get to the place of the destination, right? As we get closer to the destination, as the destination becomes more revealed, which means we're getting closer to the Tachlis, right? We're getting closer to Mashiach. As we're getting closer to the Tachlis, and so in the Torah Baal Shem, which Torah Chassidus, which is the idea of that it's an ain of Terasa Shel Mashiach, right? That's the gilui of Chassidus. That's what it represents. It represents the gilui of the Torah of the Tachlis. Because we're getting closer to the Tachlis, so there's a revealing of the Torah of the Tachlis. When there's a revealing of the Torah of the Tachlis, of the end, of the destination, so then then the destination and the journey start becoming morphed into one. So I'll give you a classic example would be if you say B'chol derchecha de'eyu versus B'chol masecha yid l'shem shemayim. If you say B'chol masecha yid l'shem shemayim, everything actually you do is l'shem shemayim, means that there's no inherent value in me drinking this cup of water, but it is l'shem shemayim for a purpose that later I'm going to have strength to serve Hashem. So there's the journey and there's the destination. Right? That everything that you do should be for this tachlis, but the tachlis is not in the thing itself. The end result is not in the thing itself. The end result is to get to the second point, then where you get to the result. When you say b'chol derchecha de'eyu, which is the famous Torah Chassidus and Torah Baal Shem, b'chol derchecha de'eyu is b'chol derchecha de'eyu. You should know Hashem. Da, be one, intimate. V'adam yadav eschava, which means intimacy. Da, vav k, in every single action. So, which means that there becomes an understanding that the tachlis, the end, is actually realized in the journey itself. And this itself, you're following? This itself is actually on two ways how to think about it. One way to think about it is that the journey itself is the destination, which is one way to think about it. Which is that there is a destination, there's a journey, and then you'll say that there's inherent value in the journey itself. So the journey itself has value as the destination. Or let's say, we'll look at it. Let's talk it on a bigger level. Let's say I look at this physical world, and I say the physical world, the physical reality, the physical world, the Olam Haza today, is a proiza to Olam Haba, and then I say that even though it's a proiza, even though it's a station, it's a way station, it's a process to get to the next world. And the next world, whatever that world will be, Olam Haba, the future. So there's a present. To get to the future, there has inherent value in the present now. But that structure of saying that there's this purpose or this destination in the journey itself, the journey itself has its inherent value, could actually become hedonistic. Because what you could say is that, okay, so just, I'm here. And the only thing that I know is true now is the physical world where I am at. Right? It becomes very existential immediate. So if I say, what's the most important thing for me to do now? If I'm hungry, I eat. So, vayechel, vayesh, vayakom, vayivaz, you actually become very immediate. Very immediate. Because if you say that the journey has inherent value, and you're not getting to a higher point, to something that's more, you actually end up worshiping the image itself. You're following the image, because this is very Greek. Actually, it's the opposite of what we want to say, because what you're saying is that there's inherent value into this thing. It's art. Let me give you an example and talk about art and music. It's art for the sake of art. If you say that art is for the sake of lift, of awakening, of process, then I say that I appreciate the art because it's getting me to a certain place. I appreciate the music because it's getting me to a certain place. But if I say that I appreciate what was the Greek idea? The Greek idea was that it's beauty for the sake of beauty. The beauty in itself has inherent value in itself. So you worship the thing in itself. And listen to music. You worship, then you end up worshiping the body. In other words, and you end up worshiping the immediacy of the body. So this is a very Dakistic thing. So what are we saying? So what are we saying? We're saying something else. We're saying though, you can say that there's a means and an end, and the means is the process, the end is the result. That's the tachlis, right? So you could say that the means and the end. The means is its result. So then you worship actually the end. You end up worshiping the means, because that's what it is. That's the gashmis. Then there's another way to say it. This is the more oimik way to say it, and this is the Torah Chassidus, because the Torah Chassidus is that there's always two meta events in Jewish history. Okay, there's the Bria, obviously. There's creation, revelation, and redemption. These are the three meta big stories. Okay, so the two big stories that are relevant to us is there's Matan Torah and there's Mashiach. Now, there's in the way we see history, it can be pulled from two different directions. It can either be the effect of the past or being pulled from the future. So you say we're living in the effects of Matan Torah. Kol Gadol Yosef means that there was an echo that was revealed at Matan Torah, and now the echo is echoing throughout time, and it's echoing throughout time, which means our present now is being affected by our past. But then there's another way of thinking. The closer you're getting to the, so if this is a scale, or this is like a line, and you're moving through the line, until you reach the midpoint, you're actually being affected more from the past. Once you cross over the midpoint, you're actually being pulled from the future. The future is Teras Shal Mashiach. Havel Havolim. Teras Shal Mashiach is Havel Hagav. The Teras Shal is whatever that means, but it's a much higher revelation, a deeper revelation. Once it crosses that threshold in history, time starts moving. Instead of being impressed from the past, it's actually being pulled from the future. So there's something very interesting that in terms of the revelation, the gilui of Torah, is in the world of halacha. Even though halacha kibasroi, if it's in the same time period, but if it's in a different time period, you always go according to the Kadmon. Which means if there's a machlokes between the Achronim and the Rishonim, you pass like the Rishonim. If the Rishonim and the Goyim, you go according to the Goyim. The Goyim, the Amoraim, Tanaim, the Nevi'im. Right? In other words, the closer you get. Why? Because it's Matan Torah. So the closer you are to the echo, the closer it is to the truth, and the echo becomes weaker and weaker and weaker, and then you have till now, and then we're trying to tune in very, very hardly, very difficultly to hear that sound of the original sound of Sinai. So therefore, what we get is a brekela emes, hopefully some type of truth. But in Torah Hasoid, it actually works literally the opposite. In Torah Hasoid, let's just do the last 1,000 years, because it's difficult before that. Let's say in the last 1,000 years, if there's a machlokes between, let's say there is a machlokes. If there's a machlokes between, and there are, let's say the Sefer HaTmura, which is written by one of the Rishonim, and Ari. There's a huge machlokes. Or if there's machlokes between the Ramak and Ari, who do you pass it? You pass it like the Ari. If the machlokes, if the Arizal, let's say, I don't know, there's like 100 things I can think about. Let's say an example, that Hashem created the worlds and destroyed them. So in Sefer Tzmur and Sefer Kana and other serious form of the Rishonim, it says that this means literal, that there were different worlds and different processes and different evolutions, a whole long story. The Arizal says this is not Kipshuta, it's not literal. This is all on the spiritual realm, it's Olam Hatoyu, different worlds, and the Mukabalim post Arizal say, we're going to pass like Dari. Those are Rishonim are Kadmoinim, but Dari has the last word. And the same thing also after Dari. There was Ari that says, Toyos HaTzimtzum. Tzimtzum Kipshuta, not Kipshuta. Is it literal? It's not literal. Comes along Chassidus. Okay, it says by Yosef Yigas Hashem. I want the other story I'm ready to say that, but Chassidus came along and it's very strongly emphasized that Tzimtzum is like Kipshuta. That it's not literal. That the Chas Shalom didn't separate from the world. There's no separation. There's no Tzimtzum. It's not literal. And that's where we practice. We practice according to the later version, right? So why does it work that way? Because in Torah's Hasoid, it's actually being pulled for the future. So the closer you are to the future, the higher the revelation is. The revelation that was revealed in this time, in 1,000 years, was revealed one thing. Then it became stronger, revealed later in different. And as we're getting closer to Mashiach, as we're getting closer to the future, it becomes a stronger revealed. So what does that mean in the Oimik? What does that actually mean? It means that the present, the means, has the end within it already. Not that the means ends in itself. The end is in the means. It's the reverse. You could say the means is in the end. The means I'm doing the means, and that in itself is the tachlis. Or the end is in the tachlis. The end is already in the means, because the closer we're getting to actually the end, the more revealing of the end becomes, and because the end becomes more revealed, even in the means, in the process, there's stronger revealing of the end. You're following? It's a very different conversation, which means that Olam Haza, if you just think about it in this way, the more we get closer to Olam Haba, which is the place of the oir, of the ischatches, the renewal and the seeing, this of Rol Kol Basa Yachda, we're able to see the Hashem's presence in the world. The more we're getting to the chayis that will be revealed in La Asalave, the closer we're getting, the more in Olam Haza we can recognize that. The more the physical world, the properties of the physical world are actually showing that. This is why I don't want to get into this whole conversation, but even science, the clash between science and it's not a clash, but the clash between science and what's perceived as the clash between science and Torah, that was stronger in the 1800s, becomes less and less a clash as science becomes deeper, a revealing of what to the unified theory of everything, which is ultimately the unified theory of everything, which is quantum mechanics and relativity as one, which we don't understand how that works, and wave and particles as one, is Achdus Hashem. So as it didn't get to yet, because obviously Mashiach is not here, but when we'll get to that point, as we're getting closer there, the end starts becoming more revealed in the means in every aspect. That's where Ruchnis becomes more attainable. So now getting back to what we're trying to say about a birthday, because this is the whole make of why we talk to celebrate a birthday. If we say that a person has a journey through life, and you're born in the beginning of the journey, and you're going to have to live 100, 120, whatever years, maybe she'll give you a arichas yom, and you're in the journey. So why are you celebrating your birthday? The birthday is just the beginning of your journey. Why are you celebrating the beginning of the journey? When could you celebrate? When after a person passes 120, and you say the person reaches destination, he reaches tachlis. The person was a tzaddik. You can say, okay, now I can celebrate, because that was proof that the person reached his destination. That was a tachlis. But as we're living in the world that the tachlis is revealed in the means, in the process itself, the closer we get to that tachlis, the more the tachlis is revealed in the means in itself. Therefore, in the means in itself, we can actually start celebrating as the tachlis. You're following? That's why Dafka in this generation, and the last generations, particularly in this generation, as we're getting closer to Mashiach, we have to celebrate our birthdays and bring down all the brachas and nissen and mazel and all the good Sachen.